Welcome to the Love Well by Doing Good podcast. I will just tell you, I got a new puppy and you might hear him in the background. I'm just going to forewarn everybody today. Anyway, my wonderful guest today is Dr. Deborah Salter. Dr. Salter brings more than 35 years of clinical experience and a lifelong dedication to helping patients achieve lasting wellness. Board certified by the Obesity Medicine Society and voted best weight loss provider in Littleton, Colorado for the past 3 years, Dr. Salter has guided countless patients to lose anywhere from 20 to 160 pounds. I lost 82 with her, and maybe even 85 by now. And more importantly, to keep it off. And that has really been important to me. We'll talk a lot about that today, about the keeping it off part. At her clinic, Why Weight Wellness, LLC, she takes pride in treating every patient as an individual. I can attest to that personally. Her approach breaks the traditional eat less, move more mold, I want to say myth, recognizing that sustainable results come from personalized plans that address plateaus, metabolic changes, and genetics. Many of her patients include those who have regained weight after bariatric surgery or struggled with commercial weight loss programs. Dr. Salter's philosophy is simple but powerful. No one should have to starve to be healthy. Her passion for obesity medicine grew from her own family's experience. 3 generations, including herself, faced morbid obesity that didn't respond to conventional treatments. And that challenge inspired her to dive deeply into the medical, genetic, and nutritional foundations of obesity, driving her lifelong pursuit of individual science-based wellness care. Beyond her professional success, Dr. Salter embraces a rich personal life. She is an avid hiker, skier, and a musician who plays the flute, I don't know how you have time, and sings in a rock band. She also writes medical fiction, quilts, and cherishes time with Wallace, her husband, also a doctor of more than 40 years, their children and grandchildren. She's a vision in integrative medicine, and Dr. Salter continues to rewrite the script on what it means to live well by doing good, helping her patients achieve not just weight loss, but a more vibrant, empowered life. And that is so true about you, all that and more. So welcome. It's always interesting to hear your own bio being read, right?
Yeah, crazy. Thank you.
And we met, I was trying to think how many years ago we've known each other, because it's been several years. And, reading in the bio, I mean, certainly taking off the weight has been critical for me, but keeping it off has been the magic in my life, because I have lost and gained 80 pounds several times in my life. Yeah. And until I couldn't take it off. So tell us a little bit more about who you are and why does it matter to you so much?
I'll share with you at some point during this, hopefully, a picture of me when I was almost 5 years old, sitting in front of my Christmas tree, and I was opening my family doctor kit. And I had my little stethoscope in this little bag that I would carry around. And it started then. And I was always the fixer. I always wanted to take care of everything. I bandaged Barbies and G.I. Joes. I took care of birds. I took care of doggies. My poor dogs had to be wrapped like mummies, like so many times I can't even tell you. So, but I was always in that trying to help and support. The Florence Nightingale syndrome, I think, was probably part of it. But it's just always been a big part of who I am. And for me, it's always been about trying to make each person's life better. And it's not just about health, it's about wellness, it's about mental health, it's about how we treat the people around us. And I think I've always had a very optimistic, glass half full, or imagining it more than half full kind of mentality with it. And the joy that I get from just seeing people thrive, just like you, Sandy, is what brings me joy and fills my heart for sure.
So did you know from a really early age, like you were going to be a doctor? I mean, was that just always your path in school? And did you ever deviate from that?
No, it was funny because when I went off to college, I knew I wanted to go to medical school, but it was funny because there were so many people that were pre-meds And the pre-meds, in my mind, were people that were tended to be very hard-nosed. They wouldn't share notes. It's like, don't look at my stuff. I want to go to medical school. They were just so intense. I'm like, you don't even know if you're going to be a doctor, and you probably shouldn't be. It was my opinion about those people that fell into that stereotype. Now, not all pre-meds were like that, but the people that insisted they told you I'm pre-med were like that. And so it was a very big point of contention for me. I was a biology major. I was not a pre-med. I knew I wanted to go to medical school. And literally from the time I was 5 years old, if anybody asked me what I was going to do, I was going to be a doctor. That was it. So it was my driving goal through elementary, middle school, high school, and college. And I had a very clear mission. I had 3 younger brothers. And so I knew when I went to college that I was not going to get married till much later, because I didn't have time for dealing with some man in my life that would require all the attention and be as disruptive as my brothers were for my life, right? And again, I truly have wonderful brothers, and I'm really blessed with them. They are. I'm still really close with them, and we are a very close family. But I just knew that's not what was in it for me. But the second my husband walked into my life, literally, I looked up and my heart fell into my stomach, and I thought I couldn't breathe. And the next day I told my roommate I met the guy I was going to marry. That was it. So, and we were 21 when we got married. I thought I was not going to do anything till I was at least 27, and I wasn't going to let it derail me. But I was really, again, blessed because he was a biology major. He was on that path as well. And we were both able to get into medical school together, which was almost unheard of. We were the first married couple they'd accepted at the University of Buffalo in New York. So it was unusual, but the good news is they accept a married couple after us that next year. But so, yeah, and even in making those decisions, I knew that even though I was getting married, that was not going to be what defined me. It was, again, just that wind beneath my wings that he brought, and hopefully that I brought beneath his, so it was awesome being able to go through it together. We're just my brothers in PA school right now. So we've been talking a lot about what it was like going through the schooling part of it. And it's been kind of interesting going back and kind of reliving some of those memories that we tried to so hard to forget, I think, for years. But yeah, no, so yeah, it's always been my mission, and always a very directed path for me.
So how long have you guys been married? What anniversary are you going to be celebrating?
So we'll celebrate 46 this year. In September, we'll have been together 49 years. So yeah, we met and got married about 2 years after we met. So yeah.
Congratulations. And I should have Dr. Wallace on sometime too, because he's just a great person. He's like the miscongeniality also of your office. Like whenever I see him, he like gives me a hug and how are you? And he looks right at me. I mean, both of you you should teach bedside manner to everyone, but especially the medical community, which I get. I mean, you know that I have a daughter who's very ill. And so I understand compassion fatigue. I could write a book on it, I guess.
Yes.
And so I'm sure that you deal with, that in your profession too. So tell us a little bit about your journey, because you haven't always done this like this, right?
That's exactly
so
right.
Tell us about your medical journey after you became a doctor and kind of the things that you've done, because I think it's really fascinating for people to hear the wide range of medical, kinds of things that you've done in your career.
So at the time that I went through medical school and residency, they did not have, for example, like an ER residency. It was pretty much you decided internal medicine, surgery, or family practice. And then from there you could subspecialize as you went through it. And I knew I wanted to do family practice. I wanted to be able to do kids and adults. I wanted to do GYN. We did extra training in delivering babies, but we knew that we probably wanted to work rurally. Or more rurally, not in inner city, but we trained inner city. So big volumes of really sick people, which was really a great experience for us. We worked in the days when we did 36 on, 12 off for 3 years. So we would have 4 weeks off a year, and they had to all be taken consecutively. So there was no other break the rest of it. So it was rather crazy. But so as I got through, I wanted to go into family medicine, and it was funny. as I was going through rotations in my last 2 years of medical school, I would have residents or attendees go, "You're too good to go into family medicine. You need to be a specialist. You need to specialize." And I'm like, for me, in my opinion, I thought a family medicine physician had to be better than the specialist because you have to do a little bit of everything. And I don't think as a society we value teachers. I don't think we value primary care in the same way that we should. Somehow somebody decided that surgeons for standing for an hour can get $20,000, and I'll work with somebody for a year, an hour at a time for 1 week at a time for much, much less, right? And so it's funny how we value what we do. Even internal medicine with Medicare, if I see someone for hypertension or an internist does, they are paid at a higher rate, right? So, and I understand, they look at levels of expertise and that definitely makes a difference. But for me, I felt like it was more important to be able to know what's normal, know what's abnormal, and know the resources. I always kind of looked at myself like the conductor of an orchestra. I didn't have to play every instrument perfectly, but I had to know when people were. I had to know who I wanted in my orchestra, and I had to make sure that I got my patients to the right people. And so often throughout my career, people would see someone like for a colonoscopy, but they would come back to me to help them understand, what does this mean? Here, they told me this is what it is. And even more now, I find that when people get their results, we've gotten to a point where nobody has time for follow-up. So we do your labs and then it's on the portal. It's there. You can see your labs. It's like, but what does that mean? I mean, there's nobody to interpret it. And even in my practice with doing what I do, I have so many people that come in. It's like, yeah, I got this stuff back with my mammogram. What does that mean? Or whatever. So, and that's always been a point of contention for me. It's like, I just feel like what drove me into doing what I do now was when family practice and the insurance companies started driving family practice to not take care of the person at one time. It's like one problem today, that's all we're going to deal with. You've got 10 minutes of my time and you're done. And if you have more problems, I'll bring you back on another occasion and deal with that. And that's never been how I practiced. It's never how I wanted to practice. And so I said, for me, going into obesity medicine allowed me the ability to take more time with my patients and broaden the spectrum of what I do, because there's nothing that goes on with us physically, personally, emotionally that doesn't have a role with what happens with my weight. And so it just takes me back to doing that comprehensive wellness and medical care that I've always felt was so critical. I did family practice, and then when I had my children, when they were young, when I first finished residency, I started working full-time emergency room. That, like I said, ER physicians were either internists, surgeons, or family practice. There was no ER physician. And so for many years, for 10 years, I worked either full-time or part-time ER. It was a great way for me to be able to be on, and then when I was off, be home with my kids. My husband and I, at one point, were working 24-hour shifts at a small rural community hospital. He became the medical director. I thought that would get me better shifts. It just meant I took all the shifts nobody else wanted. But dang it! But it was funny. He would literally, we would drive about an hour to go to this hospital. We did it so we could work the 24-hour shifts, and I would go in and sign out what was going on with the kids. And he's had a bottle, she's been changed, and he's ready for a nap. And he would go, the person in room 1's ready to go off fresh cardiac. This one's ready for discharge. There's somebody soaking that needs suturing in room 3. And we would just switch and we go, tag, you're it, right? And the funny thing with that was that my husband and I quickly realized that the person that stayed home had the harder job. We have 3 amazingly awesome kids, but with my daughter, when we first started the process, you could always tell who was home because her hair was either braided and beautiful or it was not, right? And I finally told him, if you can suture somebody and you can take out an appendix, you can braid her hair. And so I said, no, it's not going to be. So he does laundry, he does ironing, he does braiding, he does it all. So, but we knew that the one that was going to be home had the harder day of the 2 of us, so. But so we went through, I did ER, and then we lived in a small town about 24 miles south of Buffalo. And we were approached by the town who knew that we were there. We lived in the community. We're in part of the large church that was there. And they approached us to see if we would consider opening a family practice in that community. There was no medical care there. And so we talked about it, and we decided that we would do that. And we opened a family practice. We bought an 1820s farmhouse that we converted into our first family practice. And we opened that coming up on 35 years ago, I guess, is when we opened that part of it. But renovated the inside of it. Was right on the main highway, about a quarter mile down from the county sheriff's department. But anyway, it was a farmhouse that we renovated. My husband then, of course, had to buy a Ford F9N, I think that's what it's called, tractor that he would be driving like green acres in the back every so often. But so we opened our family practice. I did full-time full-time family, part-time ER. My husband did full-time ER and part-time family for a while there. So we always used to laugh that we worked ER to pay for that habit of wanting to practice family medicine, so you have to do something to support your habit. So
you guys are the people that they wrote the show Virgin River after. I don't know if you've seen it, but the doctor, of course, has that farmhouse.
Yeah, that was
you said something about, and I didn't want to interrupt you, but you said your mind, I want to say mind, body, spirit, everything you do affects your weight. What exactly did you say there? You said three things, right? Kind of overall, everything we do.
Physically, mentally, emotionally, all of those things affect what happens to our body health-wise. When we are not in the right headspace, our body physiologically is not as healthy as it can be. When our body is not healthy, it affects our mental space. And that emotional and spiritual piece of what we have makes such a big difference as to what's going on with our metabolism and that whole energy that we bring to it, our ability to focus on being well. So there's no aspect of obesity and or wellness that doesn't affect all of those areas. And so for me, being able to talk to the patient about any of those areas and not having rigid guidelines of we are only doing, this weight loss injection or pill or tablet, and you'll talk to somebody else about your diet, what you eat, and then we're done, right? So it's not about that at all. And the American Obesity Medical Society talks about the 4 pillars, which talks about not just medications, but behavioral, the exercise, as well as emotional support. So all of those pieces become part of it.
There's a couple questions I want to ask you. First, I want to say that I think the day that you said, Sandy, it's not your fault, was a really profound day for me, because I had struggled, with that 20 or 30 pounds. It wasn't 100, but it might as well have been, because I just couldn't keep it off, and I felt like I was like the exerciser starver. I did work for Weight Watchers for a number of years, which helped me create a different foundation nutritionally, but unfortunately teaches you how to cheat, like it's points. So you could eat like all your points in the most terrible thing. This was then, right? I mean, it was still about choices. And so I kept it off for a while, but then I would just, gain it back again. And I think when you said, look, some of this, yes, is certainly how we move and the choices that we put in our mouth. But there's a big part for all of us, but especially for some people genetically, but we can do something about it. And so tell me a little bit about that in terms of, like, I know you and Wallace had your own journey around this, right?
We did.
And you talked about 3 generations of struggle. So tell me a little bit about that just personally for you.
So I grew up, my mother struggled with obesity, and she ended up eventually with diabetes, hypertension, cardiovascular disease as she aged. But I watched her struggle forever, going to gyms. I watched her on those machines with those little knobs that you would sit on and let it jiggle everything that was fat, and put on those belts that would do everything, and my brother and I would go and play in the little kiddie area while she would go and do that. I watched her do every shake program you can imagine through life. And I was really blessed because right up until medical school, I didn't struggle with weight. It's not that I wasn't aware of things, but my mom made sure that we all ate very little. It was good. But so we went through that piece. As I went through medical school, working those crazy hours. It was in the days before the Bell Commission came through and said you can't do 36 hours on and provide good care. It was more of a hazing that they kind of did to just make sure that anybody that could get through it, you had to have that tenacity to get through it. And I think part of it was in the mentality of, when a patient needs you at 3:00 in the morning, you got to be willing to get up, and you got to get up and come in with a good attitude and be awake and alert when you're doing it, and trying to foster that with you. But it was crazy. So it was during those years I began feeding my fatigue, right? You're in rounds with x-ray, and they right after lunch turn off the lights and start going over x-rays. You're sitting feeding yourself cereal or something so that you're like at least chewing so you can stay awake. And so we were in the hospital, we could get graham crackers and orange juice and crackers for free, so that was what you could eat when you're on there, running around. So you're tired and you just run and grab some of those. And so not great eating choices. And that started part of it. And then we had 3 kids, boy, girl, boy. And my daughter, who was the middle child, she was a little bit of a chubby baby, but by age 1 was heavier, 2 was heavier, 3 was heavier. And every time I would take her into the doctor, they would say, she weighs too much for her height. And I'm like, okay. So, do you starve a 3-year-old? Do you not feed them? What do you do for this, right? So in the early years, it was in the 1990s, etc. She was born in 89. It was all about low calorie and low fat. In 1980, we made fat bad. We didn't decide that sugar was bad. Sugar wasn't fat. And again, so we just got rid of all fats because they were killing everybody. And if you look at the weight graphs since that time, that's when we just started escalating, right? But we would try to do low fat, which meant, of course, more carbs, but tried to not overeat. But we were a really active family. We skied, we dirt biked, we cross-country skied, we hiked. We were always outdoors. Because we struggled, we didn't have television in our house. We had TVs, and we would do videos when it was time to watch something. But we weren't watching videos all the time. Computers were just starting to come into vogue a few years after that. That's how old I am. But anyway, so, it wasn't like we were sitting on internet or anything else. Those things didn't exist. So we did all of that stuff, and she continued to gain and gain. And my husband and I began to gain and gain with her. I'd already had, as I was having my 3rd child, I was not taking the weight back off again after it, after those pregnancies. And I was trying my hardest, going to gyms and everything else I could do. And my daughter kept getting heavier and heavier. We saw endocrinologists, pediatricians, nutritionists, you name it, we saw people. By the time she was entering middle school, they said, you're not counting calories correctly because she's still gaining weight. And she was about, I think, 300 pounds as she started middle school. And she got up to a total of, I think, just didn't quite hit 400 at one point. But no matter what we did, by the time she was 18, I just said, we have this whole thing wrong, and you're no longer a pediatric patient. We're not just doing this like this anymore. And in the early 2000s, I just threw in the towel and I said, I'm going back to the Krebs cycle. I'm going back to all this metabolic stuff because I was looking to all the specialists. I read everything I could get my hands on. And in the early 2000s, it was all eat less and exercise more. And we were doing that. And so all of us gained and gained. I was about almost 100 pounds heavier than I am now. My husband was at 350, and he's about 215 to 220, depending on the day. And he lives in that range right now. But it was really when we went back and we said, okay, why are we storage machines? This is not about how much we're eating. It's about the fact that we failed to spend this. Why is my body choosing to store? And we started realizing there's definitely there are definitely those genetic pieces that cause people to have that predisposition to store. And in the past, when we lived with food insecurity, that was a great survival technique, right? But in our society without that food insecurity, it's not the same. We don't have to have that. And the fact that we do works against us every step of the way. And the hard part was, what we didn't understand is every time we dieted, our body thought there was a famine, and it got better and better at storing. It's like, obviously there's no food at many times in your life, so we will just hang on to everything you feed us. And they put my daughter in the hospital for a period of time, saying, you don't know how to count calories, we're going to put her in the hospital for a week. And they put her on 800 calories and IVs. And as she was finishing, like, how did she not lose weight that week? I'm like, I am telling you, 800 calories, this girl does not let go of weight, period. And then we would take her home and get her back on a 1,200 calorie diet, and she would pack on a bunch more weight all of a sudden. And so it was so frustrating. But what we had done is put her into starvation. She went back into that. And so some of the things that we learned is there are things that you have to have present: genetics, your ability to methylate Bs and vitamin Ds and having omegas. If those are not adequate, you can't let go of fat. Well, she was missing 3 of the 4 genes. Her D was low, and we didn't even know to look at omegas back in the day. Didn't start that until 2015, right? So when I started my practice, so didn't even look at that, but she couldn't let go. And then we realized, there are things that put us into storage. So let's look at that, especially insulin and cortisol. And insulin should be less than 10 in the mornings. Hers was 52. It was really high. So her body was already agreeing that we're going to store most of what you give us, and you can't let go. If you put it in, I tell people it's like you're filling the water balloon and you keep squeezing it, but there's no hole to let it out. We just blow up like a balloon. And so once we fix that ability to let go, and again, my husband and I each are missing 2 of the genes. He has one that I don't, and vice versa. And she got the shorthand of that. But once we fixed that for all of us, we could let go. And then we made sure that we took care of insulin, cortisol, and those pieces. Now all of a sudden we're not gaining and we can let go. And it's like, wow, okay, that works. But so the biggest thing is for me is just trying to peel off those layers and understand what has this person in storage. And there's, again, all of those pieces that we talked about play a role. It's not always just our genetics. It's not always the ability to let go. It's part of it is that survivor brain. When it perceives physical or emotional stress, it tries to protect us. If it perceives, a social stress, it tries to protect us. If we have a genetic physiologic predisposition, it tries to save us. And so that saving us looks like storage. And so that's the hard part. So we did struggle with that. We were able to get ahead of that. We've understood that. And so our family's been able to take advantage of it. I do have, her good story is that she's a 150-pound EMT firefighter, lead singer in the band that she lets me participate with. And so, I get to be her shadow and absolutely love it. But yeah, so she's come through it like a champ. And the good news is we've all got a really healthy attitude about exercise and activity, because that's all we've done all of our lives. So she's stayed active, and she's that adrenaline junkie kid now. So that's all good.
Oh, she needs to write the book. Just having my daughter be ill, who is a patient of yours as well, and be so frustrated for so many years that we didn't know what the diagnosis was. And I just can't imagine how here you are, a doctor, you show up, you're being told, all of this stuff that you are doing things the way you know how to do them, right? I just can't imagine how she felt, let alone how you felt as a mom and as a doctor, watching your child struggle. So
it absolutely,
I'm sorry that you guys had the journey, but we're all benefiting from the fact you didn't let it, kill you, so to speak. You stepped into it and said, I want to do something about this. And I often say your tragedy can be your triumph.
Absolutely.
If you look at that way, that things come to us and we have choices, and getting bitter or better, we have choices to learn and then help others. And you've definitely done that. And my family's forever grateful.